Hello everyone, my name is John Bussard. I'm an HPE Solution Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support servers, blade systems, storage, as well as networking technology solutions from HPE. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then demonstrate to you what that means within a management interface. Today, we're going to continue on our conversation with HPE's composable platform called Synergy. Specifically, we're going to look at the Synergy image streamer technology. The image streamer works in conjunction with the Synergy composer as well as server profiles in order to quickly create bootable operating systems and hypervisors and attach them to stateless compute modules. When I say stateless compute modules, the Synergy image streamer is an iSCSI boot target, so we don't necessarily want any local drives. Let's say that's always the case, but that's usually the case. You want these compute modules pretty much to be vanilla. So the scenario I'm going to set up for you is going to be one of, we'll say that I need to spin up a couple of ESX servers very quickly within my environment. And maybe I'm getting some virtual machines replicated to me from a primary site, and I'm acting kind of as a disaster recovery site. But I want to use my compute technology in my environment, my Synergy environment, to be able to support other services within my environment. But if something catastrophic happens, I want to be able to take my services that I'm running, set them aside, and quickly create an ESX environment. The image streamer is more than just a scripted install or a utility that does a scripted install from an ISO. It actually captures golden images and customizes those or takes snapshots of those and applies those to these compute modules. So with all that being said, let's explore this management interface. Okay, I'm logged into my Synergy Composer, which runs a specialized version of OneView. If you don't know much about the Composer or server profiles, I would recommend going back to my video that I have on that, and that'll be a great primer for this video. So I'd stop and go back and look at it if you don't understand that technology. Now, to give you a little bit of a lay of the land of this, let's go over to enclosures, where we can see a line drawing version of my Synergy environment. So we're going to be working with these two compute modules today. Here in Appliance Bay 1 is my Synergy Composer, and in Appliance Bay 2 is my image streamer. Now it's important to note that this is a proof of concept or demonstration setup, so this wouldn't be utilized in production. You really need redundant appliances within your environment to support a production environment. So I need two Synergy composers, and if I wanted to support image streamer technology, I would need two of those. So there's only two appliance bays in a Synergy frame, so you need multiple frames in order to be able to support this technology. Currently under server profiles, I have two. I have this one here, which is a boot from SAS, and I also have a boot from Fiber Channel. So I can mix and match these. Some of my compute modules I could boot from the D3940, some of them I can boot from maybe a 3-par SAN, and some of them I could use image streamer technology on them if I wanted to. I also think it's important to note that I have storage systems connected in this environment. Right, so these 3-par storage systems in particular, we're going to be looking at this guy. If I go over to volumes, see I have this one volume up here. Right, so we could say that maybe this is the virtual machines that are getting replicated from the main site to the secondary site. And again, I might want to bring up those virtual machines in case something catastrophic happens at the main site. So next, we're going to look at our server profile templates. And specifically, we're going to look at the server profile template. Right, so I use these templates in order to create server profiles within my environment. These would be common config options that I have set up. So let's look at see what I've created. Let's edit this guy. All right, if I go down, you'll see I have a whole section on OS deployment. This is the image streamer information. So I pick an OS deployment plan, and we'll go into these in detail. Right. And that OS deployment plan is going to give me some variables that I'm going to want to change. Right, in this case, my host name is going to be whatever the name is I create for this server profile. For the management NIC, it's going to take 3 as well as 4 and bond those together. It's going to set the password. I could also, as part of this profile, set a firmware image. I want my demonstration to kind of happen a little quicker. I'd certainly recommend doing something like that, but it adds a little bit to the boot time, so I'm not going to use that. Down below here, I've carved out some virtual connect settings. Right, so I've got a 2 fiber channel over Ethernet connection, or 2 fiber channel connections. Here are my 2 connections that I'm using for my management traffic. And here are 2 connections that I'm using maybe for my production traffic. More importantly, down here, what was created automatically for me when I selected the image streamer technology or my operating system or my deployment plan is a deployment network. Right, so this will point to the image streamer as its iSCSI boot target. Go down a little bit further, you'll see I don't have any local storage. You're going to boot off the image streamer, as well as use storage from that 3 parsan. So this was that volume that I pointed out to you, that it contains some virtual machines. After that, everything's pretty straightforward. So let me cancel that, and let's create some server profiles from this template. So I'm going to go under Actions, create a server profile. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to select the server hardware where I want to attach this to. Do Bay 1 for this guy. I'm going to go down. I'm going to set an IP address for this guy. And I'm going to click Create Plus, because I'm going to create another server profile for another ESX system. All right, so we'll create a secondary system. This will be ESX4. I'm going to use the secondary compute module I have in this environment. Again, we'll set another IP address for this guy. And I'll click Create. Now you can see I've created 2 additional ESX servers here, and those profiles are going to get created in a bit. Now if I go over here to OS deployment servers, this is information about the image streamer itself. You can see I have these OS deployment plans down here. Now if you noted, I selected this OS deployment plan as a part of the configuration. So I go back over to server profiles, and we'll just go in and maybe edit this guy. You'll see that I have this OS deployment plan selected. So let me cancel that and let this finish. And we'll go back over to my OS deployment server. Now this isn't the main management interface for the image streamer. This just gives you some information. Now if I want to look at that, I would select this IP address here, and that would bring me into the image streamer. Real quick, we have OS volumes over here. You can see I have 2 of them. I select this one. You can see that's set up for ESX3. And this one over here is set up for this server profile, which is ESX4. Now I am going to edit a little time out of this video. I kind of debated whether or not I was going to do it, but I want to shrink this video up to be as small as possible so I don't eat up too much of your time. So again, look over here, but this shouldn't take, this whole process of creating this and presenting it to the VMware environment shouldn't take more than 25 minutes or so. I do have a VMware environment prepped over here. I have a vCenter environment, and I'll just import these ESX servers into this infrastructure. Alright, so ESX3 has already finished deploying. So let's power this on. And we'll wait for ESX3 to complete. Now you will notice that we have a mark here showing that we have some errors that are happening. This is nothing to worry about. It's configuring the virtual connect settings for this system. You can also see ESX4 has finished deploying, so we're going to power on this server as well. And then we'll go back to the dashboard. So let's go in and let's talk a little bit about the image streamer and how these images are created. All right, so if I go back to the dashboard, you'll see I have deployment plans here, and that's what I selected. If I go into deployment plans, and I could select it there, or I could select it right over here. The deployment plan that we use is part of our server profiles with this. Now there are two main pieces to a deployment plan. There is a golden image, and then there is an OS build plan. And the OS build plan underneath it has these custom attributes, and these are just variables within that environment that need to be set. We could select golden images. We'll start here. So this is a master image that I'll use in order to be able to deploy my operating systems. Right, the way this is created is what I'll do is I'll assign a special OS build plan that creates an empty operating system volume, and then I'll do to a blade system, and then I'll do my normal install of whatever hypervisor or operating system I wish to run. Right, and that we could look at that right here under deployment plans, and that will be this guy right here. So I'd assign that. All right, and that would create another OS volume here. And then under golden image, I do create a golden image, give it a name, then I would select the OS volume. And then I would select the capture build plan based on my operating system. Now all these entities that you're seeing here, they come from generic artifacts that HP makes available to you. So it's nothing you necessarily need to configure. Certainly you'll come in and maybe customize these from time to time, but these are all provided to you. All right, so if we go back on over to deployment plans. All right, the second part of the deployment plan is the OS build plan, or how are we going to customize that golden image. Again, we kind of take a snap of that in a way, and then we customize that, and then kind of this snapshot, that's what we end up booting off of. Now if I select the OS build plan, you can see that selected down here again. I could have went over here and selected that as well. But this is a series of steps that I'm going to go through in order to deploy this operating system. So I'm going to mount it, unpack it, configure the first management NIC, configure the second management NIC. I actually created this step here, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm going to discover my fiber channel over Ethernet or my 3-part storage, set the passwords, repack it, and unmount it. So these are really just scripts. So let's take a look at this one I've created here. Right. Again, I could go over there and select plan scripts here. Now I don't spend my life looking at scripts, but if you look at this one, this is pretty straightforward. In particular, you can look down here. So if you've been doing VMware for a while, you'll know that anything you can do within a graphical user interface, you can do from an ESX CLI. And basically what I've done here, since I don't have any local drives on this operating system when it boots up, I'm suppressing a core dump warning that'll pop up. So if you get the purple screen to death, it wants to kind of drop its information from memory to disk. It doesn't have the ability to do that. It's like, so I'm not concerned about that, so I'm removing that. And then here on this second line, just to show you that we can do something what I'm going to do is add an extra port group in my environment called production. Right, so that'll take this golden image and customize it. And we'll from a deployment plan. So again, deployment plan is really just two pieces. It's a golden image, and then an OS build plan, which will customize that. So let's go back to our dashboard and wait for our server profiles to settle down, and everything will turn green. And at that point, we should have some active systems. Okay, we can see our server profiles are all green, so that tells me this environment's ready to roll. To kind of give you an example over here, I select this ESX server, go over to Actions, and then launch the console. You'll see that we have an ESX server that's up and running. Okay, and I can add those into my vCenter environment. So this is nothing special, this is just normal everyday VMware type of activity. So we'll put in the username and then the password that I supplied as a part of my server profile template. We're going to assign an evaluation license because I'm just demonstrating this to you. I'm going to not use lockdown mode, and I'm going to click Finish. I'm going to do the same thing for the ESX server, the other ESX server that I had created. So ESX4. Same deal. Right, so again, host summary. And these things, obviously, I could script and assign this is through that process as well if I wanted to. Now while that's adding, let's take a little look at how ESX3 was configured. Right, so it's configured, I'm under data stores, and there is that data store from that 3-part system. So if I dig into it a little bit, you'll see that I have all these virtual machines. And we'll go into VM1, and then if I wanted to, we could add its VMX. We could register this VM. And again, this is all standard VMware stuff. Nothing special from the image streamer. I'm just showing you that this can be done. It is a complete concept. So if I go back over to my hosts, you'll see that I've got my virtual machine part of that. Now obviously I could bring all those virtual machines online through some type of script. All right. So they're all up and running. I could go back, say I wanted to reprovision these for a different resource, so I could go back and actually power them off. And then delete them. Right, when was the last time you created an ESX cluster to just delete it within your environment? And that's kind of the magic behind composable technology that includes the image streamer, is we have the ability to redeploy and undeploy this as we see fit. And again, these could be ESX servers, these could be web servers, these could be a variety of container technologies that are out there. We could deploy these services and solutions as we see fit within our environment. Right? Nothing's necessarily nailed down to any particular service within our environment. And that's, again, the idea behind composable technology. We've got a pool of resources that we can pull from to be able to drive our customers' business. So, with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned for more videos.